Hey YouTube, today I want to show you something cool I found out on Photoshop. I'm gonna show you just a real simple 3D animation like you're seeing right there. I just recently learned how to do it. I'm gonna try to make this a nice simplified version of some of the information I was looking at. Just so you can get started, because I already feel a little more confident about 3D in Photoshop just from doing this little thing. So let me see if I can show you how. So the first thing I would suggest doing is just finding what you want is a spherical photo of just about anything. So if I would do a Google search for a spherical texture photo. Spherical texture photo. That's what I would look up first, or anything like that. What you want is a picture where the lines at the ends here, left and right, will line up when it's stitched together ultimately. So you can really use anything, or you can use a solid color. It really doesn't matter. But I would suggest doing that just because you're gonna want that at some point. So I start off with just a picture of the moon here. So first thing I would suggest is go to image, mode, and if you use a black and white photo like I did, you're going to want to switch that over, or it won't let you use color. I don't know why it does that automatically, but I don't care for it, because the next thing we're going to do is add a layer, and we're going to color this however you want. So there's lots of different colors, lots of different textures. You can basically use whatever you want. I'm going to go with this purple because it's already selected here. I believe it was from my last attempt at a tutorial here. So what I'm going to do is go to this layer, make sure it's selected, and then just go to multiply. And what that's going to do is leave a lot of these darker colors in here instead of covering them up. So I'm just going to use this purple and the paint bucket and just go ahead and do that. And you can see that is a really dark purple. So I'm just going to go ahead and merge it down, because now we have a color map at least, and then I'm just going to change it in the adjustments and brightness and contrast. I'm going to see how it looks, because there's lots of different stuff you can do here, and it all looks different, and it's all new to me, so I'm like interested to see what a lot of this stuff does. And as you can see, you get a pretty decent result there. So that layer is done. So the next thing you want to do, if you do want text, you could certainly just stop right there and go to the 3D point. But what I want to do is add another layer, because I'm going to put some text in here. So I'm going to switch this over. It's already set on something I like. I like this Metal Lord text, so I'm going to go with that. So I'm just going to do so that's like my little logo I've been going with. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it bigger. Move down here, it'll kind of help guide you. What you want to do, and what I found was the best result, is to put one on either side. So think of this one as circular. It's going to be two sides, so you don't want it to be spinning around and have that much blank area. So if you're going to add text, I would go ahead and do this. It's not that much harder, and I think it just looks better. And just kind of eyeball it. These lines will help. I'll try there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but should be somewhat symmetrical, just so you don't have any issues. Okay, so that's basically it. You could fuss with this, you can do all kinds of neat effects there, but I just want to make this a quick tutorial, so I'm not going to mess with it too much. So now what I'm doing with these layers is rasterizing them. And actually, before I go and merge these together, what I want to do is Make them a little bigger, because this is just an example, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so once you get this on one layer, all I did is combine these into one layer. So you have your print, you have your background. So now, next thing you want to do, once you know it's on one layer, it's selected, is you want to go up here to 3D. You want to go to New Mesh from Layer, and then you want to go to Mesh Preset, and then go down to Sphere. Now, I haven't experimented with the other things on here, but you could have a lot of fun doing that, and I plan to do that. But we just want the sphere. This is the simplest, probably the simplest thing you could do. It's going to ask me if I want to go into 3D layer. I vote no, only because this is so simple. I want to kind of keep it that way. I don't want to mess it up too much by adding all these different things. Plus, I just like the view I'm used to. So I'll stay here for now. But you'll see we have a couple extra tools here. If you're not familiar with these tools, these are just your basic view finder tools. So the dolly tool is the first thing I want to use. I want to kind of zoom this up, get it kind of where you want to be. And as you can see, since I put one on each side, you can't really see the print. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and click on the object, and then go up here. This is going to switch the view. This is the top view, this is the front view. So just click this little button. This is going to switch the two. Now you'll see I have a nice top view, and the only thing I'm really going to mess with this sphere is the y-axis, and that's the red one right here. All I have to do is find that little line until it kind of lines up here. So I just rotating it, and I want to find a good spot here. And you can see that the text is actually a little big for this. That's why you want to try to keep it small, but it just barely fits on there. But it doesn't look bad. So I'm going to stop right there. So now it's centered. So now would be a good time to go ahead and save. And yeah, I don't care where it goes. Okay, and these 3D images, if you use an image that's too big, they tend to crash once you get into 3D mode, which is why I've had trouble getting into it, because you end up with problems. But I would just recommend saving, especially once you get into the 3D view. Okay, so now you have it centered. It's all set up here. So now we want to animate it. So the first thing you want to do there is go up to Window, then go to not Navigator. You want to go to Timeline, and you'll see this big bar pops up. You want to leave yourself lots of room here. Keep this kind of small. You don't need to really see a whole lot, but you'll see why. You need a good amount of room here, and you can adjust it right here. So I would leave the window a little bit smaller than probably you're used to if you do a lot of 2D stuff, but okay, so once you do that, you want to go to Create Video Timeline. You can see there is a couple options. There's Create Frame Animation. For this you just want to leave it as Create Video Timeline. And once you do that, just click on it here, and you'll see this little window pop up. So now we're going to go down to the bottom, and this is like your zoom bar. So you want to zoom it out a couple times, because what I want is a 12-second clip. So I'm going to drag it out to 12 seconds, and you can make it as long as you want. I just like this. It seems to be kind of smooth and slow and kind of planet-like, so I like to leave it there. And it's also divisible by 4, which I also want, and I'll show you why right now. So once you do that, you want to go ahead and open this layer here, because now we're going to animate this, and you'll see there's way too many options to mess with right here. You can play with them all. I'm not sure what some of those do, but what you want to go to is 3D Mesh, and open that, and you'll see there's the sphere here that we're going to animate. So go ahead and click that little indicator, and you'll see automatically on the first frame it has put a little indicator. So you want to make sure before you click that box that it is rewound all the way to the end, the first frame, and you're all set. So from here, all you really have to do is go up here, switch the view so you can see that top. You want to be able to access this Y axis pretty easily. So all you want to do is go in increments of 3 seconds. So I'm going to go to the first 3 seconds here. And then figure out which way you want it to rotate. It could rotate either way. To me, this feels a little more natural. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees. And if you're having trouble finding 90, I find that if you kind of go further out, it gets a little more accurate, so you can get it right on the 90. So you want it to look nice and smooth if you're putting out all the effort. You don't have to. It's not going to make a huge difference, but I like it to be kind of even, so it will line up with the first frame, so I can do some more things with it, because I'll also take a still frame of it later on. And that way I'll be sure that it's going to match the still frame I take. So I'm just going another 90 seconds on 6 seconds, and that little scrubber bar is going to automatically add another little dot there on the timeline once I release the mouse here. So you want to kind of be prepared for that, but you can delete them if you screw that up. Ugh, it is kind of aggravating getting it on 90 degrees. Come on. I think there is an easier way to do this, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to stick with this. Okay, now I'm going to 9 seconds. And as you guessed, another 90 degrees. And then the final 90 degrees, go all the way to the end. Now if you get 90 degrees on all of them, this should go right back where it was when you started. So hopefully that's the case on your file here. And that's why I try to get it accurate, just so it doesn't, you don't get that little irritating jump at the end, because I don't really care for it. Okay, so now we have a total of 5 little nodes here, and I'm going to go ahead to this button here and rewind it, and now we can preview it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that because I think we're done with it. Switch the view back, because this is what you're going to see, and then you can go ahead and hit play and see if it works for you. And it's pretty smooth. It's nice pace. You could obviously adjust that however you want, but that's a nice smooth transition for me. So I'm going to go ahead and save this again, because this is where it tends to start to get a little weird on me, and I think it's because of the file sizes I was using. So I'm actually trying this again with a smaller file. So the picture I used for this image, it's not as high res as some of the other ones I tried. And now I'm going to put a background in here so I can animate it full. You could certainly animate it or render it. This is the render button. You could render it the way it is right now, and it will automatically kind of just put a black background in the back, which is fine. You can use that for a lot of things. But I'm going to try to get a little fancy here and add a background that will also be a little bit animated. So let me go ahead up here, and this is the background image I found. I just like that. It's not too big a file, so I shouldn't have too much trouble here. But I'm just going to copy it, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste it. That's, if you don't know, Control C is copy, Control V is paste. And now I'm just going to go up here, and I want to find the edges of the picture. So I'll hold Shift, drag this up, hold Shift, drag it out. Oh, it's Shift wasn't working for me anyway. But luckily it doesn't matter. And as you can see right off the bat, it started at the end because I pasted it at the end. I forgot to rewind it. So all I'm going to do is drag this to the bottom so we can see our planet again. I'm going to take this, walk it back so it lines up, and then I'm going to stretch it out so it's 12 seconds. Okay, nice and easy. Now I'll rewind it. And now you can save this as a smart object. I'm going to go ahead and convert it to a smart object just in case. I think that helps with file size. I'm not sure, but that's optional, because now you want to right click on it, go down and turn it into a postcard. And that's what's going to turn it into a 3D object. So I still don't want to do the 3D space, but you certainly could if you want. Oh, and it switched it back, so I'll stretch it out again. Some of this stuff is not as good as it could be. But okay, so now we have two objects. We have our sphere that's animated, and we have our layer 1, which is actually our background. So the important thing is that the stars in the background here are behind the planet. So it works just like the 2D mode. You just want to drag it down and put it where you want it. So you can layer up a lot of different things in here. But I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. Again, you want to go to 3D meshes. You don't really want to mess with these unless you're a little more familiar with them. Or you can certainly play around, but all I'm dealing with is the 3D meshes, because that's where our layer 1 mesh is going to be. And that's what's going to help me animate. So I'll go ahead and click that on the first frame. Make sure it's rewound. First frame. And now this one's easier to animate, because all we have to do is drag it all the way to the end. Make sure it's on the last frame and let it go. And then we're going to click on it here, and you can see from the top view it's thin, and it's right along this red line here. It's so thin you can't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it. Now that it's selected, you can see the arms coming off of it. So now I'm going to select it here, and now we can see this green line. And this green, the Z-axis, all we're going to do is drag it forward like this. And you can make it as dramatic as you want. I like to make it a little slower. So I'm going to set it right there. And you can see now we have a beginning point and an end point. Now if this was done correctly, I should have a preview here. I was having a little trouble doing a preview earlier, but I think this should resolve it. So go ahead and rewind it. You want to switch this back to the view because you're still looking at the top view, so go ahead and click it like that, and now you can see the final product. So now if it's rewound, you need to hold shift and you need to select each layer together to preview them together, or you'll just get one animation and the other. So you have to select them both and then hit play. Mother. Okay, so I finally got this to work. I was having some issues. I think the file's just too big for my computer. It's starting to slow down, it's crapping out on me. When I go to do the preview, it's not playing back. So I went ahead and shut down a couple things. I saved it, reopened it, I redid the animation, and sometimes it just keeps happening with these bigger files. So I would stick with smaller files until you get the hang of it, because these big ones could be a pain in the ass. But I did get it to work here. So as you can see, they're both working. Right about there it starts chopping up pretty good. And you can see at the bottom it's not getting the frames per second it wants. But it shouldn't stop it from rendering. I went ahead and did a render just so you can see what it looks like. And I just put it on low quality. I could easily do that higher quality. The rendering I don't think is going to hang it up. I think it was just glitching out the program because I was using such large files, because I'm using these big galaxy photos, and Photoshop isn't the greatest for video in general, so you have to kind of keep it simple or figure out a solution. I haven't figured it out yet, but I've done 3 or 4 of these, and they all came out pretty good. Just every once in a while I hit a glitch like that. But as you can see, it is working, and it doesn't look bad. That's basically what I'm going for here. Just kind of a galaxy view, and you can see it looks pretty neat. And what I would do is on this last frame here, that's where this should be here. So at the very end of the rendering, you drag this over here, and all you want to do is go up to File, go to Export, Export As, and I'm just gonna grab, I'll go with JPEG. I'm just gonna grab a JPEG of this final frame in case I want to do some kind of transition for video purposes. So do the animation, then it can stop there, and then I can actually put some more print or just leave it frozen like that. But I just want that picture just in case. So there we go. So maybe you'll probably see this in the future. I'll probably go ahead and make this part of my little channel here, so until I come up with something better. But I just thought that was interesting. I thought this is cool. There's a lot of things you can do with it. It's fairly simple. Just keep the file sizes small so you don't run into some of the issues I did, but it's really an introduction to 3D. You can get some pretty good results without really doing a whole lot of 3D modeling and stuff like that, or going into the controls, 3D mode. It just seems kind of neat. So go ahead and play with that, and let me know if you like this. I'll make some more, and I'll do some updates as I learn myself. Hopefully that was nice and easy and straightforward to understand. But yeah, that's about it. Oops. Oh, you weren't supposed to see that. I can edit it out again.